Hi, this is Michelle, scribe for Collective Consciousness. That's my little guy back there, Druid, staring out at the lizards. He likes to play with the lizards. Anyways, I recorded a video earlier today, and it talked about the steps that I use for when I want to connect, specifically when I want to deliberately seek messages. But I thought about re-recording because I wanted to not just list out the steps that I do, but I wanted to explain it a little bit more. So I'm going to read to you the steps that I do. And so first what I'm going to do is read the steps to you, and then afterward I'm going to explain it, okay? So it says here, and again, these are the steps that I take when I want to receive messages. And I always write them down because a lot of times I find that when I put myself into a receptive state, usually that really receptive state is also a little bit forgetful. So it's just, it's something that my own practice has improved incredibly. Like the quality of my messages has improved since I've been writing them down, the ease of use, but more than anything, I feel like my connection has increased because of the fact that I'm able to remember what the material is about that I'm even getting. So it really, I mean, you would be surprised how forgetful we can be when we get into this kind of relaxed states that we can put ourselves into in order to receive. Look how cute that little doggy. Anyways, here goes. These are the steps that I do. And again, I'll be explaining, I'll be elaborating a little bit more on them in a couple moments, or in a couple minutes. It's important to be in an elevated and relaxed state. If you are not, then I recommend doing some intentional breathing, as this will help balance you and make you more receptive. Also, doing this right after meditation is highly suggested. I also like doing a mental visual exercise that, for me, sends the message to my guides that I am ready to receive their direct guidance. With my eyes closed, I visualize a figure 8 or infinity symbol, and I trace it with my mind, like I am imagining drawing it over and over. Then I ask the simple question, do you have a message for me? At this point, it's important to listen for a small, quiet voice that you may perceive as your imagination. It's even okay if you think about it that way. You will hear an answer to your question, do you have a message for me? You will hear a yes. In a relaxed manner, be willing to write down anything that you perceive you heard, even if it doesn't make sense. If you have difficulty and feel that you are not getting anything, just start writing. Write about how your day went or about anything that you want to, just like journaling. This will remove any pressure that you may have built up about wanting to receive. Just allow your hand and pen to flow without much thought to what is coming out. The intent is not to get a great message, but the intent is to build your own trust in this process. You can pose the question again if you want to, or you can wait for another time. Any answer that you hear or think you heard, write it down. Write it down even if you think, that can't be it, or that must be my imagination. Let the idea of it's my imagination be okay. Another trick I use when I get an intuition or a synchronicity is I write it down. It could be an image that you saw in your mind's eye. Write that down. How did it make you feel? Were there colors involved? Write that down. Give yourself time to ponder the message. Okay, I'm talking about synchronicities or, synchronicities or intuition. And then what needs to happen for you to clearly receive is for you to build trust in yourself, in your guides, and in their messages. Being committed to write down any message you get, whether it be from your efforts of sitting down with pen and paper and asking questions, or from spontaneously getting intuitions and writing them down, will give your ability to receive an upgrade. Your guides will know your level of commitment, which is demonstrated by your determination. Your act of willingness and your efforts is what it takes to open your flow. Okay, so what I literally do is I just sit down with my pen and my paper, and I ask that question, do you have a message for me? But before I've even done that, I've already made sure that I'm in a quiet environment, especially for a newly developing person, someone that's new to wanting to develop this aspect within themselves, to be able to hear messages from your own guides. Make sure that you're in a quiet place. And I like to do it early in the morning. That's, when I first started opening to doing all of this, I was getting messages right before bed, which is another quiet time. So any time that for you is very quiet, and I really like doing it when it's a little bit dark too. When it's a little bit dark, you could even just close the curtains of your room if the time you have to do it is during the day. If it's a little bit dark and you close the curtains, and you make it a little dim, I find that for whatever reason, just being able to go within a little bit deeper by having the lights off is even more helpful. And the other thing is, the other thing that I do is I get myself in a really comfortable position. Like I used to do this just laying in bed a lot, and so I would kind of get slouchy and not in a position where I was gonna be super able to look at my work and make sure I wrote everything correctly. Nothing like that at all. It's just a position in bed or sitting where you can just feel really comfortable and just flow with whatever it is that you may get. And so that's the other thing I do, that writing in the dark and in dimly lit settings. And then once I pose the question and I hear, yes, anything that comes to my mind that I feel like is a response, I just start writing it. I don't judge it. I don't think, does this make any sense? Also, I want to say, don't ask really important questions. Like, yeah, it's great to ask, do you have a message for me? But if you also start by saying, I need to get the solution to this big problem that I have, it's kind of difficult to as a beginner to build your own trust in these messages when you're doing that. So I recommend that you be a lot more kind of sort of just easy about this whole process. Anyway, so after I pose the question, do you have a message for me? Anything that comes to mind after I hear yes, I just write it down. And a lot of times I have found that even though I've now been doing this for 3+ years, I find that I still wonder, am I going to get a message? And a lot of times I find myself like just happy, joy that, oh yeah, here it's coming. I can feel it coming. It's like the newness and freshness hasn't worn off, which is great. Hopefully it stays there forever. I love it. I love receiving messages. But once I start writing down, a lot of times the beginning will be somewhat of a greeting. And so once I write down that greeting and I just continue to allow more of message to come through, and I just write it down. I don't even really analyze it. Don't do anything like that. If you want to analyze it after you're done, fine, do it then. But another thing that I do is if I find myself getting distracted while I'm trying to receive. So let's say my mind is already thinking about something that I want to prepare for breakfast, or I might be thinking about work, for example. And instead of being in a relaxed state where I can more easily receive, here I am distracting myself with these thoughts. So when I'm distracted that way, I find it really difficult to receive messages. I mean, honestly. So what I do is I just recenter myself. I might even, if I have something on my mind, I might even write it down so that I won't forget it. And that way I can feel comfortable letting it off my mind. And then I just go back, I recenter myself, maybe even do a couple more minutes of breathing, intentional breathing, or visualizing my symbol, like the steps that I've already mentioned. And I go in there and I just visualize that. And I get my mind back to this moment that I have the pen in my hand, this moment right now, the moment that we're in. So I get my mind back to this very moment, and from that state, I'm able to receive. If my mind is across the room, or my mind is half an hour from now at work, if it's about thinking about anything that doesn't have to do with this very moment, it's really difficult to receive messages in that state, at least as a beginner. Anyways, let me think, is there anything else that I wanted to share regarding the subject of receiving? I will be posting another video about how I have also other steps that I've used. I already have put together the information that I want to share about that. These are steps that I used when my mojo was just really down, and I had to really make bigger efforts to raise my vibe. So I'll be sharing that in another video. I also recommend, I keep all of my scribes, I call them scribes. I keep all of them on notepads. I have so many legal notepads just filled with messages. And yeah, anyways, my son is calling me, so it's time for me to end this video. Well, it was nice connecting. Actually, I'm feeling like I'm getting more and more used to doing this, so I really enjoyed it this time. Thank you very much. I hope that was really helpful for your journey into automatic writing.